studio view. I love the fresh air and my tea squirt. I get the allergic smelling turpentine. Achoo! Darling, I love you, but give me my studio view. Wait, I'm your wife? Oh, goodbye, studio life. Art storage. We are here. Welcome everybody to Living Figuratively with your host, Judy, or as Eva Gabor would say it in Hungarian, Takács Judit, because she's Hungarian. Tonight, for Living Figuratively, I bring you into the bowels of my studio storage. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Once upon a time, I invented a word called paintenance. Paintenance basically is all the other stuff that you have to do as a painter. It's the maintenance that you do to maintain your painting practice. So I called it paintenance. It can range from the sublime, like being a fashionable movie star in a show like Living Figuratively, to the mundane, where you're packing and shipping boxes and schlepping stuff from here to there and then back from there to here, or just the downright dirty, like where you're, gessoing things, varnishing things, cutting things, just, kind of making a mess, and dressed like this is how I normally dress for my painting day. I have painting clothes. I have a lot of painting clothes and I have a lot of non-painting clothes. So I'm going to bring you into something that's even messier than my art studio, which is, glamorous and beautiful compared to the art storage space. My art storage space is, we'll do a 360 tour of it. I'm going to start with the heating system, the heating and air purification system. When we built this house, I have a actual air purification system here because there's fumes in here, and so all that takes place right here in this closet, which I also use this closet for additional storage. You can never have too many storage closets in your storage space. I've got shelves here. I've got paintings. Here's a painting I did of my parents a long, long time ago. And I've got shelves for just the crazy stuff, like old rags, because old rags are very useful with painting. I've got these crazy things that I'm sure anybody that paints collects these. I'm not sure what they're for, what you're supposed to do with them, but I'll be damned if I'm going to throw them away, because you never know when you're going to need one. I have little TV trays that are sort of portable tray storage. Of course, my T-square. Then, okay, I'm going to continue this 360 tour here. This little nook is where I keep all my shipping boxes. Right now, I believe all my shipping boxes are back home safe and sound because of all the show cancellations for COVID. Nothing is out there shipped and hanging in show. They're all here. I have all different sizes, mostly big ones because my paintings are mostly big. Most of them they're airfloat system boxes, and this is not an ad for airfloat systems, but I super swear by them. And I'll show you how I use an airfloat systems shipping box right here. They are really good. They're very sturdy. They have like a hard masonite lining, so it's a little bit harder for there to be punctures in the box, because that's something that happens in shipping sometimes. And one of the ways that I pack up and ship my things with the airfloat system boxes, they've got this nice sponge where you basically cut out the shape of your painting and then pop your painting into it so it doesn't even move around. I do some extra things when I do my painting shipping. I label all my pieces and parts. I put a piece of foam core with glassine on it to be the thing that touches the painting, because I certainly don't want this kind of rubber stuff touching the painting, because that will stick to the varnish and make little holes, you know, in the varnish, and just, you know, your painting might arrive looking like a nightmare. So I put a piece of glassine on foam core, but that is the thing that touches the painting. And then to make sure that everybody knows that, it says this side faces up, other side with glassine faces the painting, so there's no ambiguity. And then we've got the foam thing that, you know, cushions it on the other side, and then we've got the box. One of the other things I do, taking a page from the Garanimals book, I don't know if any of you guys know or remember what Garanimals are. It was a clothing manufacturer for kids' clothes where you had pictures of animals on the tag so that you would know what went together. So like all the pieces of clothing that had a lion on it would go together, so your kids could theoretically match their own outfits and, you know, pick out things. So like you say, pick out all the lion ones, and their outfits would match. So what I've done is I put a picture of my painting onto each of the elements. I have a picture up here of this painting. I have a picture of there with the painting. I have a picture on my foam core glassine of the painting, and there's the painting. I even put a picture of the painting on the outside of the box so that it is practically idiot-proof and all my pieces and elements will come back together. And so far, I'm going to knock on wood, on the wood floor, that has worked, and every painting so far has come back safe and sound. I love the airflow system boxes. I've had to ship some smaller pieces where they don't have boxes this small, and I just made my own. I made my own little airflow systems box out of the spongy pieces that come out of other airflow system boxes, and I did it inside a boot box. So I'm quite proud of that. This one I did get back, and if a small piece needs to go someplace, I think this one also went to Alaska and back. I will have that. All right, next stop on the studio storage train is my prop table. So my prop table, this is where props that I've used for paintings, not all the props that I've ever used for any paintings, but the ones that are still a little bit active, where I've only just finished them, or maybe I've done the photo shoot, but I haven't started the painting yet, so I need the prop, because at some point I might set up the prop in a still life, or I might set it up on a mannequin, so that when I'm doing the actual painting, I can work from life with it. And you'll see where this one goes, because this one will be cool, and God knows how I'm going to paint it. It's kind of frightening me. I've got some of my balls for my chicks with balls here. I've got this gorgeous wooden ball that I would love for somebody to pose with. I've got some string balls that I think are really fun to paint. Nobody's posed with those so far. Globes, everybody does the globes. I'm kind of done. I've done a lot of globes. I've got, of course, my snakes that have been, figured large in several paintings. I've got these ivy leaves that kick my butt every single time. I keep putting them into paintings for no good reason, and they keep kicking my butt. But someday I will conquer these ivy leaves, and they will be good. I've got these gloves, which are hockey gloves, and they actually have been part of a photo shoot, but the painting hasn't happened yet, and I'm looking forward to doing them. I just have to kind of get in the right mindset to do those. And lo and behold, I also have this Chicks with Balls bucket. This is a little bit of a blast from the not so distant past. Back in February, when I was giving my first Chicks with Balls talk at the Zanesville Museum of Art, when my Chicks show traveled there, I put out a question on Facebook to see if, what people might be interested in hearing about, because I didn't want to repeat the same information over and over. And if there were issues and things that people wanted to, learn more about that I didn't know, I wanted to hear it. So a lot of people posted a lot of questions, and I incorporated many of them into my talk. One of the things that I also did was I typed up all these little questions, threw them in this bucket, and brought this with me to the Chicks show, just in case afterwards, after the talk, nobody was asking questions. Because that's always kind of a downer. It's like you finish giving a talk and everybody's like, you know, not asking questions. So I said, if nobody asks any questions, then I will pull out my Chicks bucket and pull out a question and answer it randomly, which I will do right now. Oh, there's a question. I'm going to read the question. What is so interesting about balls? They just hang there. Okay, so somebody asked me that question on Facebook. And my answer is, balls are interesting, and they don't just hang there when women have them. So that's that. We're going to keep on going around. Oh, you know what else? I also have some of my Chicks with Balls paintings hanging in my studio storage, because in my house, if there's a wall, there's a painting on it. Whether it's mine or somebody else's, I just like to have them up. Why not have them up? This one is Shannon, who it was actually part of a triptych, and one side of the triptych was at the Zanesville show. The whole piece is in the Chicks with Balls book that I have, the purple one, the second one, and this one is Nicole. Who this painting, you'd think the string would have killed me. I love doing the string. I love doing the balls and the yarn balls. They were very fun, and I think they came out really good. She used the string to symbolize her kids, and they are in their various states of disentanglement from, you know, growing up and getting older and going to college and everything. The two white ones that are in the background symbolize two babies that she had lost to miscarriage at some point between her children that, you know, that are growing and thriving. All right, we'll keep on going over here. This right here is interesting because it's a little bit of it's a still life table, where if I ever need to set up a thing and just draw it or just see it in isolation, I'll put it here in my still life table and wheel this over and set up lights on it. So it kind of, you know, I just kind of made it out of cardboard and a sheet. There's probably more sophisticated ways to do it, but it does the job. Right behind me is another Chicks painting. It's called Blazine Heart of Gold. And she was the first person who posed for me in the middle of having had a double mastectomy. And she actually posed with these gold balls, which symbolized childhood cancer, which is a cause that she really cared deeply about. And it also just so happens to be that September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, so that kind of ties in there. All right. Which leads me to this long wall that I have over here. This wall has all my 24 by 24 portraits that about maybe even 10 years ago, I was doing these larger contemporary portraits with the white background and this very simple silhouette, because I really wanted to focus in on the face. And I made them a little bit larger than life size, because I was teaching myself, you know, to get better and better at the different elements of the face. And I also I knew that eye surgeons worked on cow eyes, which are like more of a softball shape size, to practice for human eyeballs, which are smaller, you know. And when I say they work on cow eyes, it means like, you know, cadavers or like cow eyes that they get from slaughterhouses. They don't operate on living cows' eyes. That would be kind of a major issue. So working larger, not super larger, but just a little bit larger, it's a good way to learn the different pieces and parts in the anatomy for working on the face. And so that's kind of what I was doing. And I roped in all kinds of people. There's my mom. There's my oldest. There's my baby, who's behind the camera right now. That's my mother-in-law. That's my sister. That's a model from the area. The next one down is Lou Grasso, who is Maybe he's even watching it. He's a regular viewer. He's my portrait teacher from that time period. I took portrait classes with him at the Orange Art Center. And then beyond that, I have another model. And then at the very end is my dad. I roped everybody into getting these big oversized portraits. So now I'm going to move along to the color station, okay, and with the color trolley here. Basically now I'm not doing white backgrounds so much. I'm actually doing brightly colored backgrounds, which you mostly can see. One of the things that I do with my brightly colored backgrounds is before I even do the painting, I will prime the background with whatever color my major color is going to be, whether it's purple or red or green or magenta or blue. I've got all kinds of different colors, and I've got my acrylic paints, and I keep them in tubs like this, and add a little bit of medium to loosen them up so that they can prime a canvas nicely. And in that way, when I'm doing the actual painting, I can relate my flesh colors to the background so that it isn't a surprise when I add the background color later. That's always a shocker, especially if it's a bright color background, because suddenly everything is different and more dull when you put in this bright red background. So it's good to have the background color already there so that you can see what the colors that you're mixing are going to be. The other thing that I do is in my dirty art studio storage space is spray painting, and the spray painting only happens with the frames. I will order simple white floater frames and spray paint them the colors, often the same color as the paint that I use in the background, and it just sort of separates it from the wall, gives it a little bit of a sophistication, but the spray painting kind of has to happen in a well-ventilated area, so I open the windows and I have my air purification system, so the spray painting all happens in here. The pièce de résistance of my studio storage space are these storage racks here, which runs the length of the wall. When we built the house, we built the house. I mean, we didn't hammer nails build the house. We paid people to build the house for us. But when you're building a house yourself and you're working with the builder and you're visiting the house every single day, and you're rolling up your sleeves and you're involved in the process, you get to see everything. You get to see the house in the stud stage. You get to see the house, you get to see through walls because you see before they put the walls up. You get to see what things look like. I knew actually ahead of time that I was going to do storage under the eaves like this, because at our old house we had an unfinished attic space that I used for studio storage, just like this. Like I would slide the paintings between the rafters. So I wanted to build an intentional space into my studio storage here, and that's exactly what we did. So we've got these racks where there's wood, and I think the builder actually even put in an extra piece of wood so that the canvas, the wood of the canvas and the stretchers could rest on the wood, because that's one of the mantras of good studio practices is with canvases, you rest wood on wood and never let the canvas rest on anything. Because when you have a canvas and it rests on something, you could create a poke in the canvas, and that poke will not go away, and that's a really, really bad thing. So you always want to rest the wood part onto the wood. And I rest them on each other like that too. So I purposely had him put in an extra 2x4 in between there, so that they would have things to rest on. Now, one of the things I'm not going to do this week is pull out and show you any of the paintings that I have in here. Some of the paintings that I do have in here are, some are storage, some of my Chicks with Balls paintings that are between shows, and right now there's no Chicks with Balls show planned, so they are in storage here and in another part of my house. But I also, this is the place where I'll keep foam, all the foam that I took out of my airflow boxes. I'll keep portfolios of paperwork in here. I keep cardboard and foam core. And I also keep paintings that are kind of in an in-between stage where they're not done, but they're not quite ready for prime time either, and I've kind of given up on them a little bit. Or sometimes paintings that I thought were wonderful at one point have gotten to be older work, and maybe I don't think they're so wonderful anymore, and so, but they're not bad enough to throw away, or they're representative of a certain phase that I went through, so I stick them in my studio storage. So next week, what I'm gonna do is I will show you pieces from my studio storage here, because I will be putting on my critic's hat next week. Next week, 6 o'clock will be my show. At 7 o'clock, immediately afterwards, I'm going to be doing a Zoom critique for the Akron Society of Artists, where different artists from the society will submit their work, and I'll give them a critique on their work, because, you know, it's always valuable to have somebody else with a, you know, dispassionate eye looking at your work. So what I'm going to do, though, is turn that dispassionate eye on my own work right beforehand. I'm going to look at my old work that I haven't maybe even seen for like years, because it's kind of sitting here locked away. And I'm not going to cheat and pull it out in between time and fix it or anything like that. I'm really going to try to keep it very spontaneous and look at my work, my old work, with a fresh eye, like I would somebody else's work. So that's what I'm going to be doing next week, because next week's episode is going to be called Critical Condition, Critics Corner. So that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me for Living Figuratively. Come back next week for Critical Condition. Same bad time, same bad channel, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday night. And darling, do come back. You would love my studio view.